My son's teacher called your child, just confessed something terrifying. I rushed to the school and froze when I saw what he had in his backpack. Hi everyone! Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. The phone call came at 10:47 on a Tuesday morning. I was in the middle of a presentation to a client, some tech startup, that wanted us to redesign their entire brand identity in 3 weeks when my phone vibrated against the conference table. I glanced at the screen. Oakwood Elementary School. My stomach dropped the way it always does when your child's school calls during class hours. Nothing good comes from those calls. Forgotten lunch money, maybe. A scraped knee that needs a Band-Aid. Or something worse. I held up a finger to my client. I'm so sorry. I need to take this. It's my son's school. I stepped into the hallway, pressing the phone to my ear. Hello? Mrs. Harper? A woman's voice tight with controlled tension. This is Janet Reeves, the school counselor at Oakwood Elementary. Yes? Is everything okay? Is Ethan hurt? No, he's not injured. But we need you to come to the school immediately. Your son has. He's told us something concerning, something we need to discuss with you in person. My mouth went dry. What did he say? I'd prefer to explain when you get here. How soon can you arrive? 20 minutes? What's going on? You're scaring me. Mrs. Harper, I promise we'll explain everything when you arrive. Just please come as quickly as you can, and... She paused. You might want to bring your husband if he's available. The line went dead. I stood in the hallway of my office building, heart hammering, mind racing through every possible disaster. Ethan was 8 years old. What could an 8-year-old confess that required both parents and this level of urgency? I texted my ex-husband David. School called. Emergency with Ethan, meeting me there. His reply came immediately. On my way. I told my assistant to reschedule the client meeting, grabbed my coat and purse, and ran for the parking garage. The drive to Oakwood Elementary took 18 minutes, though it felt like hours. I kept replaying the counselor's words. Your son has told us something concerning. What did that mean? Had someone hurt him? Had he seen something he shouldn't have? Was he in trouble? My mind went to the darkest places: abuse, violence, danger. I thought about the news stories you see, the horror that hides in plain sight, while parents remain obliviously proud of their children's good grades and soccer trophies. Ethan had been different lately. I had noticed but dismissed it, chalked it up to growing pains or social stress or the general weirdness of being 8. He'd always been a quiet child, thoughtful, introspective, the kind of kid who preferred books to playground games. But over the last month, he'd become withdrawn, secretive. He'd stopped telling me about his day at school. When I asked what he did, he'd shrug and say nothing, before disappearing into his room. He'd started keeping his backpack locked, a combination lock he'd begged me to buy him, saying he needed to keep his private stuff safe. I'd thought it was cute, this assertion of independence. Now, driving too fast through suburban streets, I wondered what he'd been hiding. Last week, I'd heard him crying in his room at 2 a.m. When I knocked on his door, he'd pretended to be asleep. I'd stood in the hallway listening to his muffled sobs, torn between respecting his privacy and barging in to comfort him. I'd respected his privacy. Had that been a mistake? I pulled into the school parking lot at the same time as David. We met at the entrance, my ex-husband, looking as panicked as I felt, his tie askew, hair uncombed in a way that meant he'd literally dropped everything to get here. Do you know what this is about? He asked. No idea. They wouldn't tell me over the phone. We entered together, that old marital synchronicity still intact after 3 years of divorce. United in parenthood, if nothing else. The elementary school smelled the way all elementary schools smell crayons, and hand sanitizer, and the particular mustiness of old buildings that house young children. The walls were covered with artwork, spelling tests marked with cheerful stars, posters about kindness and recycling. Everything looked so normal, so safe. We signed in at the front office. The secretary, Mrs. Chen, who I'd chatted with a dozen times at pickup, wouldn't meet my eyes. "They're waiting for you in the conference room," she said quietly. "Down the hall, last door on the right." The walk down that hallway felt eternal. Our footsteps echoed too loud. David's breathing was audible beside me. Through classroom windows, I could see teachers instructing, children learning, the ordinary machinery of education grinding forward, while my world contracted to a single point of terror. Something concerning. The conference room door was closed. I knocked, and a voice called, "Come in." Inside, Janet Reeves, the counselor who'd called me. Mr. Patterson, Ethan's third-grade teacher, Principal Morrison, and a woman I didn't recognize, 30-ish, professional clothes, an ID badge that read Dr. Sarah Kim, child psychologist. And Ethan, my son, sat in a chair that was too big for him, feet dangling above the floor, hands folded in his lap. His face was pale, eyes red from crying. When he saw me, his lower lip trembled. "Mom," he whispered. I wanted to run to him, scoop him up, carry him out of this room and away from whatever was happening. But something about the adults' faces stopped me. They looked serious, grave. Prepared for a conversation, I wasn't. "Mr. and Mrs. Harper," Principal Morrison began. "We're divorced," David said automatically. "My apologies, Mr. Harper and Ms. Harper." The principal gestured to the chairs across from Ethan. "Please, sit down." We sat. I couldn't take my eyes off my son. He looked so small, so scared. I reached across the table for his hand, but he pulled away, clutching his backpack to his chest. "What's going on?" David demanded. "What happened?" The adults exchanged glances. Janet Reeves, the counselor, spoke first. "This morning during group circle time, Mr. Patterson asked the students to share something they were worried about. It's an activity we do to help children process their emotions and build trust with peers." I nodded, impatient. "Get to the point." Ethan raised his hand. Mr. Patterson continued. "And he said—" He looked at Ethan, as if asking permission. Ethan stared at the table. "He said he was worried because he knew about someone who was being hurt, and that he had proof." The words landed like stones in still water, ripples of understanding spreading slowly through my consciousness. "Proof of what?" I asked. "Who's being hurt?" "That's what we've been trying to understand," Dr. Kim, the psychologist, said gently. "Ethan has been reluctant to explain. We thought perhaps with you here, he might feel more comfortable sharing." I looked at my son. "Ethan, honey, you can tell us. Whatever it is, we're here to help. You're not in trouble." He shook his head, squeezing the backpack tighter. "Buddy," David tried, his voice softer than I'd heard it in years. "Did someone hurt you?" "No?" The word was barely audible. "Did you see someone get hurt?" A pause, then a nod. "Who?" "Ah," I asked, my throat tight. "Who got hurt?" "I can't say." Tears were rolling down his face now. "I promised I wouldn't tell, but I can't keep the secret anymore. It's too big. It's too scary." "Ethan," Principal Morrison said firmly, but not unkindly, "if someone is in danger, you need to tell us. Promises don't count when someone might get hurt." "But he said," Ethan's voice cracked, "he said if I told anyone, something bad would happen. He said no one would believe me anyway." My blood went cold. "Who said that, Ethan? Who told you not to tell?" He pressed his lips together, shaking his head. "Is it someone at school?" Janet Reeves asked. No response. "Someone in the family?" No response. "A neighbor? A coach? Someone you know?" Ethan's face crumpled. I can't say. But I have—" He unzipped his backpack with shaking hands. "I have proof. He doesn't know I took it, but I couldn't leave it there. I couldn't let it keep happening." We all leaned forward, watching as Ethan dug through his backpack. past crumpled homework papers, and a half-eaten granola bar, past library books and colored pencils. He pulled out a phone. Not a child's phone, no bright case or simple interface. An adult phone, Samsung, slightly cracked screen, dark blue case. "That's not your phone," I said stupidly. "No." Ethan set it on the table like it might explode. "It's his." "Whose?" He wouldn't answer. Principal Morrison reached for the phone carefully, as if it were evidence at a crime scene, which, I realized with dawning horror, it might be. "Ethan," she said slowly, "whose phone is this?" "The person who's hurting her." "Her. Not him. Her." "Who is her?" David asked. Ethan's face was anguished. "I can't say her name. She'll get in more trouble. He said she brought it on herself. He said no one would care about a girl like her." Dr. Kim, the psychologist, spoke up. "Ethan, I need you to listen to me very carefully. What you're describing sounds like abuse. If someone is being abused, we need to know, not to get them in trouble, to help them, to keep them safe. Do you understand?" Ethan nodded miserably. "Is this person a child? Someone your age?" Another nod. "Is she in your class?" A head shake. "Older, 5th grade. Mr. Patterson frowned. "How do you know about this, Ethan? Do you know this girl?" "She's my friend." His voice was fierce now, protective. "She's nice to me at recess when other kids aren't. She helps me with reading. She's really good at reading." "And someone is hurting her?" "Her stepfather." The name burst out of him, like it had been held back too long, too hard. "Tyler, her mom's boyfriend. He moved in with them 6 months ago, and then everything got bad. She told me things, showed me bruises, said he gets mad a lot, says things that make her cry." The room went very still. I could hear my own heartbeat, the quiet hum of fluorescent lights, the distant sound of children's voices from somewhere in the building. "What's the girl's name?" Principal Morrison asked gently. Ethan looked at me, really looked at me, with eyes that seemed too old for an 8-year-old. "Mia Rodriguez." I didn't know that name, had never heard Ethan mention her. But then I realized with shame I hadn't been asking many questions lately. Too busy with work, with keeping our lives running, with managing the logistics of single parenthood. "And this phone," Janet Reeves said, still not touching it, "belongs to Mia's stepfather?" "Yes, I took it from his jacket, when he picked up Mia last week." Ethan's words came faster now, desperate to be believed. "She was crying, again, and he was yelling at her in the parking lot, telling her to stop being dramatic, and his phone fell out of his pocket when he grabbed her arm. I picked it up. I don't know why, I thought maybe if I had it, I could find proof, something to show that he's hurting her." "Did you unlock it?" Principal Morrison asked. "Yes. The password is 1234. People always use easy passwords." He said it matter-of-factly, this child who shouldn't know about unlocking stolen phones. "There are videos on it, and text messages, bad ones. I couldn't watch all of them. They made me feel sick." Principal Morrison's face had gone pale. She looked at the phone like it was radioactive. "We need to call the police," she said quietly. "No." Ethan lunged forward. "No police. That's what I was afraid of. If the police come, he'll know she told. He'll hurt her worse." "Ethan," Dr. Kim said gently, "if there's evidence of abuse on this phone, we're required by law to report it. It's not optional, and the police won't let him hurt Mia. They'll protect her." "You don't understand." Ethan was crying hard now. "He told her no one would believe her. He said she's a liar. He said if she ever told anyone, he'd make sure her mom sent her away. She's scared all the time. And now I took his phone and he's going to know, and—" I couldn't stay in my chair anymore. I moved around the table and pulled Ethan into my arms. He buried his face in my shoulder, his whole body shaking with sobs. "It's okay," I whispered, though I didn't know if it was. "You did the right thing. You were trying to help your friend." "But what if I made it worse? What if he hurts her because I took his phone?" Over Ethan's head, I looked at the adults in the room. "What happens now?" Principal Morrison was already reaching for her office phone. I need to call CPS and the police. If there's evidence of child abuse, we're mandated reporters. We don't have a choice. And Mia? David asked. Where is she right now? In class, 5th grade with Mrs. Anderson. Principal Morrison dialed. But I'll have her brought to the nurse's office, somewhere safe until we can sort this out. Everything moved very quickly after that. Police arrived within 15 minutes. 2 officers, 1 male and 1 female, both in uniform but trying to look non-threatening. A representative from Child Protective Services came shortly after. A tired-looking woman with kind eyes who introduced herself as Amanda Lewis. They took the phone, bagged it like evidence, which I suppose it was. They interviewed Ethan separately, gently, with Dr. Kim present to make sure he was okay. They asked David and me questions. Did we know Mia? Had we noticed anything unusual in Ethan's behavior? When did he take the phone? I answered as best I could, feeling like I was moving through fog. My son, my quiet, gentle son, had stolen a phone from an abuser to protect a friend. Had carried the weight of this secret for a week, maybe longer. Had tried to solve a problem no child should ever have to face. And I hadn't noticed. Hadn't seen past his closed door and his reluctance to talk. Hadn't realized his withdrawal wasn't teenage moodiness, but trauma by proxy. The shame of it burned in my chest. After an hour, one of the officers came back to the conference room, where David and I waited. We've reviewed some of the content on the phone, she said. I can't share details, but there's sufficient evidence to place Mia Rodriguez in protective custody immediately. We've contacted her mother and informed her of the situation. CPS is working on an emergency placement. And the stepfather? David asked. We have officers going to pick him up now. He'll be arrested and charged. Because of what Ethan found, I said. Because of what Ethan found, the officer confirmed. Mrs. Harper, your son may have saved that little girl's life. What he did was dangerous and technically theft, but it came from a place of trying to help someone he cared about. That takes courage. Courage. My 8-year-old son had more courage than most adults I knew. Can we take him home? I asked. Yes. We have his statement. We may need to talk to him again as the case develops, but for now, he can go. She paused. He's going to need support. He's been carrying something very heavy. Make sure he talks to someone. Dr. Kim has some recommendations for child therapists who specialize in secondary trauma. Secondary trauma. The trauma of knowing someone else is being hurt. We took Ethan home to my house, since it was my custody week. David followed us in his car, neither of us ready to let Ethan out of our sight. In the car, Ethan sat in the back seat, staring out the window. I kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror. This child I thought I knew who had turned out to contain depths I'd never imagined. Are you mad at me? He asked finally. Mad? No, honey, I'm not mad. I stole. You always said stealing is wrong. It is wrong. But I struggled for the right words. Sometimes the world presents us with impossible choices, where all the options are bad, and we have to choose the least bad one. What you did wasn't right, but what you were trying to prevent was much worse. Is Mia going to be okay? I think so, thanks to you. Her mom is going to be so mad at her. Her mom should be grateful she has a friend like you looking out for her. In the rearview mirror, I saw tears slide down his face. I was so scared. Every day I came to school, I was scared he'd figure out I took his phone. Scared he'd hurt Mia worse. Scared no one would believe me if I told. Why didn't you tell me? The question came out more hurt than I intended. Sweetheart, why didn't you come to me with this? Because I promised Mia I wouldn't tell any adults. She made me promise. Said adults always make things worse. Said her mom didn't believe her when she tried to tell, so why would anyone else? Another cut, deeper. This child's friend didn't trust adults to help her. Had been hurt so many times that the idea of asking for help seemed more dangerous than staying silent. At home, David and I made Ethan lunch while he sat at the kitchen table, exhausted from carrying his secret. We moved around each other the way we used to when we were married, passing plates, pouring juice, united in the single purpose of taking care of our son. I should stay, David said quietly, while Ethan was in the bathroom. At least tonight. He needs both of us. I nodded. We could put aside our differences for this. We had to. Ethan picked at his sandwich, eating little. Can I go to my room? Of course. Do you want to talk about what happened? Or do you need space? Space, please. He disappeared into his bedroom. I heard the door close, then silence. David and I sat at the kitchen table with our own untouched sandwiches. How did we miss this? I asked. How did we not see he was struggling? He's 8. 8-year-olds aren't supposed to struggle with things like child abuse and moral dilemmas. We didn't miss it because we weren't looking for it. It never should have been there in the first place. But he's been different. Withdrawn. I noticed and I just wrote it off as a phase. Claire. David reached across the table, took my hand. Stop. You're a good mother. The fact that he kept this secret doesn't mean we failed. It means he's a loyal friend to a kid who desperately needed one. Maybe he was right. Or maybe we were both trying to absolve ourselves of guilt that would take years to fully process. Later that evening, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Amanda Lewis, the CPS worker, and a small girl with dark hair and darker eyes. She was thin, wearing clothes that didn't quite fit right, and she looked terrified. Mrs. Harper, Amanda said, this is Mia Rodriguez. She asked if she could see Ethan, just for a few minutes. I thought it might be good for both of them. I looked at this child, the one my son had risked so much to protect. Of course. Come in. Mia entered hesitantly, taking in the house like she was cataloging escape routes. Amanda stayed by the door, giving them space but maintaining supervision. Ethan? Sach, I called. You have a visitor. He emerged from his room, saw Mia, and froze. Hi, she said softly. Hi. They stood there, these two children connected by trauma, not sure what to say. Finally, Mia spoke. They told me what you did, that you took his phone, that you gave it to the school. Ethan nodded, looking scared. I'm sorry. I know you told me not to tell, but I couldn't keep watching him hurt you. I'm not mad. Tears were rolling down her face. I thought I would be. I thought I'd hate you for breaking your promise, but... She crossed the distance between them and hugged him, fierce and desperate. Thank you for caring when no one else did. Ethan hugged her back, both of them crying now, holding on to each other like lifelines. I had to turn away, my own tears blurring the scene. They took me away from him, Mia said when they finally pulled apart. They're putting me with a foster family tonight. Ms. Lewis says it might be temporary, but at least I'm safe. At least I don't have to go back there. I'm glad, Ethan said. I was so scared for you. I was scared too. All the time. But you saved me. She looked at him with something like awe. You're a hero, Ethan Harper. I'm not a hero. I couldn't let it keep happening. Amanda checked her watch. Mia, we need to go. Your foster family is expecting us. Mia nodded. She gave Ethan one more hug, whispered something I couldn't hear, and left with Amanda. After they were gone, Ethan came to stand beside me in the kitchen. Mom, am I in trouble for stealing? No, you're not in trouble. But I broke the law. You did. And there will be consequences. We'll talk about trust and better ways to ask for help. But right now, I just need you to know that I'm proud of you. Scared for you, worried about you, but mostly proud. You saw someone suffering and you couldn't walk away. That's courage. That's compassion. That's everything I ever hoped you'd be. He leaned against me, and I wrapped my arms around him. This child who was still so small, but who had faced down something enormous. I love you, I whispered into his hair. I love you too, Mom. The case against Tyler Morrison Mia's stepfather moved quickly. The evidence on his phone was damning. Videos of abuse, text messages where he admitted to hurting her, threats that clearly demonstrated a pattern of violence and control. He was arrested, charged with multiple counts of child abuse. Mia's mother claimed she didn't know, that she'd never seen evidence of the abuse. CPS didn't believe her. Mia was placed with a foster family that Amanda Lewis personally vouched for. A couple who specialized in trauma cases, who had the patience and training to help Mia begin to heal. Ethan started therapy. Twice a week, he talked to Dr. Kim about what he'd witnessed, what he'd carried, how to handle knowing terrible things about the world. She taught him coping mechanisms, helped him process his fear and guilt, and the complicated feelings that came from saving someone. He asked about Mia constantly. Amanda Lewis, bending the rules slightly, would sometimes send updates. Mia was doing better. She'd started sleeping through the night. She was smiling more. She'd asked about Ethan, wanted to know if he was okay too. 3 months after everything happened, Amanda arranged for them to meet again. Supervised, carefully managed, but a chance to reconnect. Mia looked different. Healthier. The haunted look in her eyes had faded, replaced by something that might eventually become happiness. "I'm doing good," she told Ethan at that meeting. "My foster parents are nice. They don't yell. They ask if I'm okay. It's weird, but good." "I'm glad. I'm going to stay with them. My mom gave up custody, said she can't handle having a kid," which is probably true. Mia said it matter-of-factly, without the emotion such a statement should carry. Maybe she was protecting herself. Or maybe she'd accepted it. "Are you sad?" Ethan asked. "A little, but also relieved. I don't have to worry anymore about him, about her not believing me. I get to just be a kid now. Do you know how long it's been since I got to just be a kid?" Ethan shook his head. "Me neither, I can't remember." They sat together on the couch in Amanda's office, these two children bound by crisis, and talked about normal things, school, books, the difference between good teachers and bad ones, their favorite foods, everything and nothing. When it was time to leave, Mia hugged Ethan again. "You're still my hero," she said, "even if you don't think so." A year later, Ethan is 9. He still sees Dr. Kim monthly, maintenance therapy, to make sure he's processing everything healthily. He's less withdrawn now, more willing to talk about his day, his feelings, the things that worry him. He and Mia are still friends. They can't see each other often. CPS has rules about contact, but they exchange letters through Amanda Lewis. Careful, supervised letters that let them stay connected without interfering with Mia's healing process. I keep one of those letters on my desk at work. Mia's handwriting, careful and neat. "Dear Mrs. Harper, thank you for raising a son who cares about people. Thank you for teaching him that doing the right thing matters more than following rules. Thank you for not being mad at him when he stole something to save me. You have a really good kid. I hope you know that. Love, Mia." I do know it. Every day I know it. I also know this. I almost missed it. Almost dismissed his silence as moodiness, his fear as growing pains, his secrecy as normal childhood development. I almost failed to see that my son was carrying someone else's trauma, trying to solve a problem that would have broken most adults. The phone call that day, "Your child just confessed something terrifying," was the worst moment of my life, until it became one of the best. Because it forced me to see my son clearly. Not as an extension of myself or a problem to manage, but as a whole person with his own moral compass and his own fierce capacity for love. He brought a stolen phone to school in his backpack. Evidence of abuse, proof of suffering, a cry for help that he couldn't give voice to on his own. I thought it was a confession of wrongdoing. It was actually a confession of courage, and I'm so grateful I was there to hear it.